This is a linear induction motor. It uses about 100 kilowatts, and it can accelerate 4-pound missiles such as this up to nearly 100 miles an hour. Ready again, Barry?
Yes, Bob.
Fire! This is a big motor. On the other hand, in this thimble, I have the rotors of over 10,000 electric motors. And nobody is going to deny that these are small motors. Now, a linear induction motor like this is an easy thing to understand because it's just like a flowing river. The river spins it, and notice which way it spins. The water passing underneath it causes it, as it were, to roll backwards. Now let's look at this linear motor, which is just like a bit of the big machine we've just been seeing. And this is like a river too. A copper cylinder into the magnetic river, it spins in the appropriate direction. We can have a shallow river. There is a shallow river. Or turn on some more water, and there is a deep river. And when I'm making these comparisons, I'm doing what every engineer does almost every day of his life. I'm using an analogy. Now, a good engineer knows when to use an analogy and where it breaks down. And I'm going to show you where this one breaks down. And then turn on the water. You see, the flow rolls the cylinder downstream. If I now place the same cylinder in the magnetic river and turn on the magnetic water, it rolls upstream because you see the river is flowing that way. Now, this motor is really a most potent device. But still pretty useless as a motor because a fraction of a second after I've switched on and the aluminium has gone and we no longer have a motor. So if we want continuous motion, we must turn this machine over. Let this now be the moving part and let it sit on a fixed rail and run along that, like this. Mary, would you like to give me a hand? Just take the weight until I can turn on the supply. Now I'm going to raise the voltage slowly and the motor will climb this very steep incline. You'll notice that it doesn't need wheels to grip the rail. There are virtually no moving parts and the motor is capable of developing a very large force. Taking off. I can control the motor for very low speeds. Or stop it when it's moving very fast. When used on the horizontal and made in a much larger size, such a machine is capable of developing a very high acceleration.
Instead of a single coil, I'm going to use two coils, one inside the other. This is a coil, and this is a coil, and these three rings are steel rings. They're to help to strengthen the magnetic field. Now, we've found that we can produce this inward travelling field if we make the current in this coil go that way around at the same time as the current in this one is going the other way around. So when we put both coils on together, we can perhaps detect with the copper cylinder a very slight tendency to produce inward travelling fields. That is the bottom of the cylinder moving towards the centre. That's what we're looking for. Now, magnetic field takes no notice of pieces of wood or cardboard or paper, so I can pass a piece of wood underneath without affecting the floating disc in any way. On, doesn't float quite so high, thinner still, a lot lower down, and if we go to the ultimate and cut a ring from kitchen foil, which is also aluminium, that doesn't float at all. But unlike our permanent magnets, if we now add some more rings, we shall begin to see the whole lot lift. Remember, with the permanent magnets, the more magnets we put on the top and the smaller was the lift, and in this case, the more the rings, the higher the lift. Put the thicker one on, thicker still, and up it comes right to the top. Now, what is the secret of this amazing device? This is the giveaway. This is a copper cylinder that is free to spin. If I hold the copper cylinder alongside, there's nothing much going on. But if I take this ring, which wants to float up there, and I force it down alongside the copper, then the copper begins to spin. And if I put it on the other side, it spins the other way. It is as if there was an upward sweeping something which is causing the copper to spin. And we call that upward sweeping something a travelling magnetic field.
Bonus to be had. If I increase the current to this machine, then I get lift as well as propulsion, and when I let go of the sheet, it simply flies through the air. Propulsion without wheels and without physical contact. Now, of course, there are all sorts of interesting possibilities for this kind of motion. Here's one of them. A Martian war machine inspired by H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds. When switched on, this machine will levitate itself above this aluminium sheet and also propel itself along. Switch on. Perhaps that's a bit way out at present, maybe the year 2000. But what is concerning us seriously at this time is the possibility of using the same idea, but for guidance along a track, for the possibility of high-speed travel. So let's now look at a levitation system which is only allowed to move in one direction.